Yaśodhanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yaśodhanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira vanachare Yamunatira vanachare Charadha Madhava Kunja Bihare Charadha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopijana Ballava Giriśaḥ Gopijana Ballava Giriśaḥ Yaśodhanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yaśodhanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira vanachare Yamunatira vanachare Charadha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Javishtabad Paramahansa Parvrajak-charya Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shishi Radha Madhava ki, Shishi Tattva ki, Sri Nrsingadev Bhagavan ki, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Devotees, do you need to explain how to use the translation or like, huh? Oh, they should know?
This is like regular
Yeah, but our parikrama team. FM 95. Если вы понимаете, как работает 95. FM, понимаете? Yes. They don't have earphones. So, well, Srila Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was first, when he first brought devotees from the West to India, then sometimes he would give classes in Hindi, maybe Bengali, and the devotees didn't understand. And therefore sometimes they would not attend the classes. But Prabhupada would call for them to come, even though they didn't understand, because there's benefit just hearing the transcendental sound vibration. So, если вы не понимаете английский язык, и если у вас нет, what do they call? Naushnicki, then Haribol. Вы должны слышать мой английский. И если вы не понимаете, такова жизнь. Но будет хорошо для вас, потому что звук Srimad Bhagavatam — это трансцендентный звук. And будет хорошо для вас, хотя вы не можете понимать. Понимаете? Okay. Haribol. Расслабьтесь. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, questions by Vidura, and we are doing verses 38 and 39 on the board. I understand is 39, so I will just read 38 myself right now. So verse 38, kaccid yaśodhā ratha-yūthapānāṁ gāṇḍīva-dhanvoparatārir āste alakṣito yac-chara-kūṭa-gūḍho māyā-kirāto giriśas tutoṣa. And I'll just read the translation. And this is Vidura is speaking, and he is asking Uddhava about different devotees, great devotees, associates of the Lord. So, the translation here, please tell me whether Arjuna, whose bow bears the name gāṇḍīva, and who is always famous amongst the chariot warriors for vanquishing his enemies, so please tell me whether Arjuna is doing well. He once satisfied Lord Śiva by covering him with arrows when Shiva came as an unidentified false hunter. Okay, but actually there's a very short purport here. Let me just read that. Just 2 or 3 sentences or so. So, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Shiva tested Arjuna's strength by picking a quarrel with him over a hunted boar. He confronted Arjuna in the false dress of a hunter, and Arjuna covered him with arrows until Lord Shiva was satisfied with Arjuna's fighting. He offered Arjuna the Pāśupati weapon and blessed him. Here, Vidura inquired about the great warrior's well-being. And I could just mention a couple of words. This pastime between Lord Śiva and Arjuna, it's there in Mahabharata. And it's interesting that somehow or other Lord Śiva wanted to test Arjuna. He wanted to give him the Pāśupati weapon, which is Lord Shiva's special weapon, or one of his very special weapons, but he wanted to check his qualification first before giving him this very special weapon. So, as Prabhupada puts it, he picked a quarrel with Arjuna over a hunted boar. Boar means more or less like a wild pig, a boar. Very big and very powerful and actually dangerous. Wild pig, a boar. So he disguised himself as a hunter, and then Arjuna fought with him. It's a bit of a long story, but the way Prabhupada puts it is interesting. Arjuna covered him with arrows. I think one arrow would be enough for me, and that would be it. The end of story. But in these big Kshatriya battles, sometimes you read about people being covered with arrows, just so many arrows, but they survive and they come out fighting. And I don't know how it works, but their bodies must be very, very strong to tolerate being struck by a number, in this case, quite a number of sharp arrows. So somehow or other, though, Lord Śiva survived, even though he was struck by these many arrows, and he appreciated the very skillful fighting of Arjuna, and therefore he gave him the Pāśupati weapon and blessed him in Kshatriya type terms, to be a great fighter, to be a very successful fighter, to use that weapon, Pāśupati, weapon, if I remember correctly, it's sort of like a snake weapon or something along those lines. Anyway, it's some very special weapon. So here Vidura is inquiring about Arjuna. Yes. And he's inquiring about so many great devotees and the Supreme Lord, different forms of the Lord. And I was reading through yesterday or the day before, and Prabhupada made the point that actually all these great persons had left this world. They'd already left this world. Vidura was not present when they left this world. Uddhava was present or in the vicinity, or was present actually. So he was directly aware that they'd all left this world. But Vidura, he had heard that, and he understood that it's true. They've left this world, but still, the way Prabhupada put it was that it was sort of for psychological purposes. Prabhupada uses that term, psychological purposes, that he asked, even though he knew, but because he knew them all anyway. He was related to so many of them and had very close relationships with so many of them. And his mind, even though he knew they had left this world, his mind had not really been able to adjust to that and accept that and sort of move on at all. So it was all part of a process of him psychologically adjusting to the departures of all these great personalities. Right. Yes, so in this case, Arjuna. So, okay, let us go on to verse 39, which is on the board there. Yamav utasvet tanaya pritaya partar vrita pakshmabir akshaniva remata udaya mridhe swa riktam parat suparnav eva vajre vaktrat yamav utasvit tanaya pritaya partar vital pakshmabir akshaniva remata udaya mride swariktam parat suparnav eva vajri vaktrat yamav utasvit tanaya pritaya partar vito pakshmabir akshaniva Remata udayam ridhe swariktam. Parat suparnav iva vajri vaktrat. Yamavutasvit tanayo pritaya. Partair vito pakshmabir akshaniva. Remata udaya mrite swariktam. Parat suparna viva vajri vaktrat. Mataji's. Yama, twins, Nakula and Sahadev, Utasvit, weather, Tanaya, sons, Pritaya, of Prita, Partai, by the sons of Prita, Vrita, protected, Pakshmabi, by the eyelids, Akshini, of the eyes, Eva, like, Remate, playing carelessly, Udaya, snatching, Mridhe, in the fight, Swariktam, own property, Parat, from the enemy Duryodhan, Suparna, Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, Eva, like, Vajrivaktrat, from the mouth of Indra. Translation: are the twin brothers who are protected by their brothers doing well. Just as the eye is always protected by the eyelid, they are protected by the sons of Pritha, who snatched back their rightful kingdom from the hands of their enemy Duryodhana, just as Garuda snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra, the thunderbolt carrier. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Indra, the king of heaven, carries a thunderbolt in his hand and is very strong. Yet Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, was able to snatch nectar from his mouth. Similarly, Duryodhana was as strong as the king of heaven, and still the sons of Pritha, the Pandavas, were able to snatch away their kingdom from Duryodhana. Both Garuda and the Pathas are pet devotees of the Lord, and thus it was possible for them to face such strong enemies. Vidura's inquiry was about the youngest brothers of the Pandavas, namely Nakula and Sahadeva. These twin brothers were sons of Madri, the stepmother of the other Pandavas. But although they were stepbrothers, because Kunti took charge of them after the departure of Madri with her husband Maharaj Pandu, Nakula and Sahadeva were as good as the other three Pandavas, Yudhisthira, Bhima, and Arjuna. The five brothers are known in the world as regular brothers. The three elder Pandavas took care of the younger brothers, just as the eyelid takes care of the eye. Vidura was anxious to know whether, after winning back their own kingdom from the hands of Duryodhana, the younger brothers were still living happily under the care of the elder brothers. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyachyadesha Tarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Let me just read verse 39 again. Yamav utas vittanayo prataya partayar vrito pakshmabir akshaniva remata udayam hrideswa riktam parat suparnav eva vajri vaktrat. Are the twin brothers who are protected by their brothers doing well? Just as the eye is always protected by the eyelid, they are protected by the sons of Pritha, who snatched back their rightful kingdom from the hands of their enemy Duryodhana, just as Garuda snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra, the thunderbolt carrier. Hare Krishna. Right, yes. So it's a very interesting example. I mean, it really is a very interesting example, actually, how the Pandavas snatched back. They just sort of grabbed their kingdom back from the enemy. just like in a very sort of, I don't know, like, anyway, very powerful and very quick way. Just like Garuda snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra, Lord Indra, the thunderbolt carrier. You know, sometimes devotees, they want to get some remnants of prasadam from some other devotees. And sometimes they sort of get into a, well, sort of like a thing. They want to get some remnants, beg, borrow, or even steal. And in a sense, there's a place for it. There can be a place for it in Krishna consciousness, sort of grabbing some remnants without asking, would it be all right, Prabhu? Could I please? Where you're likely, you know, I would say you're quite likely to get a refusal, because what devotee in their right mind or in any state of mind wants to just start giving their remnants of their prasadam away? Because the idea is that the recipient will kind of share some of your spiritualities, something like that. Yes. So therefore, generally, like in the case of Lord Chaitanya, he would not give remnants, even though he was a sannyasi, and you can say he was a guru, and of course he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it's stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he would not give remnants, although many people wanted his remnants. The only one that he just willingly allowed, consciously, that, okay, you can have some remnants, that was Kalidas, the uncle, one of the uncles of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. You probably know the story, I won't go through the details, but Kalidas was such a humble and sincere devotee and just appreciated the devotees so much and really tried to get their remnants, etc. So Lord Chaitanya appreciated that, and he actually allowed Kalidas to have, it was, well, different things actually, but there's mention made of the water that had washed the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya just as he's coming to enter the Jagannath temple. And if you remember the description there, he just let him take it 3 times. Kalidas just sort of jumped in with cupped hands, took some water that came off the feet of the Lord, drank it once, twice, 3 times. Then a 4th time was about to, and Lord Chaitanya said, basically, that's enough, Kalidas. All right, I've fulfilled your desire, so thank you, that's enough. But others he wouldn't allow. And even there's the story in the cleansing of the Gundicha temple where Lord Chaitanya was on the altar, which was, it's a very simple altar. It's just sort of like a flat top with sides, no, altar sort of decorative things, sort of more or less like a big box, kind of. And he was kneeling on it with his feet sticking over the edge, and some clever devotee came along and sort of nonchalantly poured some water over Lord Chaitanya's feet as if, we're just cleaning the temple. Yeah. And another devotee jumped in to grab some, and Lord Chaitanya noticed it and chastised the one who was going to take the water, and actually threw him out, told him, get out. Yeah. But he didn't do that with Kalidas, but that was the general standard. He did not leave remnants. Or if he did, it was for a very select few, intimate, like disciple-type associates. Yes, but otherwise, there's this idea, I'm sure we've all come across it, that it's nice to get the remnants, prasadam remnants of devotees, particularly senior devotees like that. It's very nice. Yeah. So, and sometimes devotees get into it, they get too much into it actually, and start sort of taking, or you can get an epidemic of devotees trying to steal each other's prasadam. It's a bit abnormal, I would say. But here, now in this case, this is something else. Garuda snatched some remnants, actually, of nectar from the mouth of Indra. It's one thing to grab something off someone's plate. It's another thing to grab something out of someone's mouth as they are in the process of consuming it. That's a very advanced level. I saw it once. I only saw it once. That was many years ago in Vrindavan. Giriraj Swami Maharaj, you may know, very senior devotee. There was a feast there at one devotee's place, and Giriraj Maharaj was taking prasadam, as was everyone else, and one devotee, Burijan Prabhu. They're talking, they're sitting next to each other and sort of talking, and somehow or other Burijan just suddenly whack, stuck his hand into Giriraj Maharaj's mouth as Maharaj was chewing and talking at the same time. You're not meant to talk while you're eating, right? There's maybe a lesson. But he grabbed something right out of the mouth of His Holiness Giriraj Swami. And he was very excited about it. He felt it was a great achievement, which, I guess it was. So, but the idea is here that snatching back something which has been stolen by a bad person who's really cheated whoever he stole the kingdom from. So the Pandavas, they snatched back the kingdom that was the rightful property, that was their rightful property, particularly Yudhisthira. And they snatched it back from Duryodhana, who was really not a nice person, basically. Prabhupada describes him as a type of manifestation of the personality of Kali Yuga. Prabhupada talks about Duryodhana like that a little bit. And I can mention one little story where Prabhupada's involved. Prabhupada disciples from the Western world for the first time, and he took them around India visiting different temples and people and places, and they stayed for some days in the temple managed by a godbrother of Prabhupada's named Ananda Brahmachari. He's an elderly man, but he's a brahmachari. And they stayed there, if I remember correctly, maybe a week, but a good few days they stayed there. And Ananda was an expert cook. And he would cook a feast for the devotees and Prabhupada every day. And then he would serve it. He wouldn't just cook it and let the servers come and serve it. He would cook it, then he would serve it. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is a real devotee, real service attitude, cooks very nicely and then serves it very nicely to the devotees. So one day there, that was in Visakhapatnam, if I remember correctly. Anyway, one of the days, and Prabhupada was eating with his disciples, which he generally wouldn't do. But here he was having lunch every day with his disciples, and Prabhupada would not eat a lot, and his disciples would still be in the middle of taking prasadam, and then his remnants would be distributed. So that was happening, and one devotee, I won't mention his name, some of you may know, he got a gulab jamun that Prabhupada had taken a bite from, and there was, the tooth marks or the bite, and it was placed on that devotee's plate. And he was looking at it thinking like, wow, look at that. I got the mercy. But one other devotee grabbed it. No questions asked. And immediately in the mouth, no just examining it or, thinking, admiring it, thinking about it, just straight into the mouth. And as they say, it went to the land of no return, so to speak. And the devotee whose plate it was stolen from, he was very nice but kind of sensitive type of devotee, and he got really upset. And he went and told Prabhupada that, while everyone's still eating, Srila Prabhupada, that such and such devotee, I got your a gulab jamun, you'd taken a bite from your remnants, but this devotee, he stole it. And he was hoping Prabhupada would, chastise the devotee, do something about it. Maybe bite another gulab jamun and give it to him. So, but Prabhupada just mildly laughed. And Prabhupada said, oh, he was very intelligent. And then Prabhupada said a very interesting and instructive thing. Prabhupada said there are two types of devotees. One likes to eat prasadam, the other likes to serve prasadam. Prabhupada said, they are both good, but the one who likes to serve prasadam is better. Yes, right. So, anyway, here we're talking about snatching from the mouth. That's really dramatic, isn't it? I'm sure you've seen someone steal some prasadam, But did you ever see someone snatch some from the other devotee's mouth? I only saw it that one time. And he was fast. He just went, shoo, bang. And yeah, Giriraj Maharaj was sort of a bit bewildered by the whole thing. So anyway, the thing is that this was going on. This was going on in the context that the three older Pandava brothers, Yudhisthira is the oldest, and then Bhima, and then Arjuna, they looked after their, not exactly like biological brothers, they're half-brothers. Prabhupada uses the term step-brothers. Probably technically in English, we might use the term half-brother. Same father, different mother. Yeah. So what happens in many families, particularly nowadays, it's Kali Yuga, and everybody is trying to get the best for themselves and often not concerned even about brothers. So if there's some half-brothers, they're not exactly like real, regular, full brothers, then, you know, they won't worry about them too much. Or even they may even take advantage of them and not really treat them fairly or equally. This happens in Kali Yuga. It really happens so much. Really happens so much. But in this case, well, Vidura's asking, how are the half-brothers or step-brothers doing, the young ones, Nakula and Sahadev? They're kind of in this disadvantaged position because their mother is Madri, whereas Yudhisthira, Bhima, Arjuna, the mother is Kunti. So the father is Pandu though, but the mother's different, and they're younger. So the thing is though that Yudhisthira, Bhima, and Arjuna, they looked after them, Nakula and Sahadev, just like they were equals, or even younger actual brothers, and really looked after them so nicely. And the example is given just like the eye is protected by the eyelid. You know, it means this part that sort of closes over the top and where there's little hairs sticking out, the eyelid. So yeah, they protected them wholeheartedly. And there was no special treatment for anyone else. It was all completely equal. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that, yes, well, Garuda, he was the one who snatched the nectar from the mouth of Indra, and nectar generally means it's liquid. So with his beak, he sucked some of the nectar out of Indra's mouth, and surely Indra was not sitting there. You know, go ahead. But he stole it. And Prabhupada makes the point that Garuda and the Pathas, the Pandavas, they're pet devotees. And because they're pet devotees, they're very special devotees who are very dear to the Lord. And the Lord gives them special treatment, actually. That because of being pet devotees, it was possible for them to face such enemies. Duryodhana was extremely powerful, even though we read actually in 38, Arjuna was very powerful, but he wasn't as powerful as Duryodhana. And even Bhima, Duryodhana was exceptionally powerful, very, very powerful. And it was taken that he could even challenge Indra. He challenged Lord Śiva. And Lord Śiva, he's even greater than Indra. So Arjuna's really a special warrior, but he's not as great as Indra. But because he's a pet devotee of Krishna, therefore he is able to stand against him and defeat his army and like that. It's really very special. It's all on the basis of being pet devotees. So we, who are we? I mean, we're around, we're somewhere there, but we're not pet devotees of the Lord like Garuda or the Pandavas. And we definitely should not start thinking that we are. Of course, the idea would be to become in due course. But at this stage, we're in the category of aspiring devotees, trying to really become really proper devotees, that sort of thing. One thing I read a while ago, actually, and I found it very interesting, is Srila Prabhupada giving a class on Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, verses 13 and 14. And Prabhupada gave a lecture, and it's there. If you've got Prabhupada's books on your computer, you can find it. Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, verses 13 and 14. That if you're familiar with those verses, with the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you would know that Lord Krishna tells Arjuna there, he talks about different qualities of a devotee which he, Krishna, really appreciates. I won't read the Sanskrit, I'll just read the translation here. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, verses 13 and 14. One who is not envious, but a kind friend to all living entities, who doesn't think himself a proprietor, free from false ego, equal in both happiness and distress, tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So starting with these two verses, 13 and 14, and going on to the end of the chapter, the last verse is 20, then Lord Krishna, for each verse, all the way through, from 13 to 20, Krishna expresses himself like this, that one who's, humble and engaged in service and so on and so forth, then he says, is very dear to me. Each verse, very dear to me. So Prabhupada gave the class on these two verses, and I read the transcription, and Prabhupada said what I take to be a very interesting and actually very important thing. And you can look it up yourselves and see. But Prabhupada says yes, to the effect that, yes, this is Krishna consciousness. How will Krishna love me? How will Krishna love me? I think normally, much more often than not, we think, how can I love Krishna and develop love for Krishna, Krishna prema? How can I do that? Because now I don't love Krishna, I love myself, really. And Krishna, well, anyway, we're trying to cultivate a mood of service, etc., to Krishna. But so I found it very interesting. Prabhupada said, how will Krishna love me? Not how will I love Krishna. You know, Krishna is such a person. What a wonderful person. It's just beyond comprehension. So, there's no problem with Krishna being lovable, deserving love, being loved. It's obvious he should be loved, but us, we're not really so lovable because we love ourselves. Really, first is the normal situation, at least in conditioned life. It's look after number one. So we are prone to selfishness. We are prone even to sort of take advantage unfairly if we can get an advantage. So we don't have so many good qualities. But Krishna does. He already has so many amazing, wonderful qualities. And to the point ultimately there's no comparison. So he's lovable. One would have to be stupid not to love Krishna. But yeah, we are not in such a condition where people would want to selflessly love us. So therefore Prabhupada said, this is Krishna consciousness. How will Krishna love me? How can I become such a person that I develop such qualities and I become such a person? Krishna will feel I must have your association. I cannot live without your association. And then you don't have to worry about sort of, so to speak, going back to Godhead, because Krishna will take you back to Godhead. You could say even whether you like it or not, something like that. Yeah, you won't be able to stop him. If he feels that he loves you, that you are lovable, and he really wants to have your company. Not just when you're having a good day or a good hour, but 24/7. He just wants you to be there with him. So because the Pandavas and Garuda are like that, pet devotees, therefore by Krishna's arrangement, even these more or less impossible things happened. How could Garuda steal nectar from the actual mouth of Lord Indra, who's extremely powerful? How could the Pandavas defeat Duryodhana and an army which is much larger than their army? Not really possible. But by Krishna's grace, it all happened. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, devotees. Is there one question or comment? Because I am afraid I have to almost literally run. No comments, no questions? Okay, that's fine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ho Gaya.